I appreciate you guys letting me be here today. I am new to this platform, as are a lot of us. It is a little bit of a nerve-wracking kind of thing. In fact, it's so nerve-wracking that my first experience I would call cringeworthy. I hated the way I looked on camera, and I hated how I had to interact with people and trying to connect, because I am a connector and I'm a people person, and trying to do this gives a whole different perspective. But like all of us, we live and learn. And so today I want to teach you some techniques, and I also want to talk to you a little bit about how we can live in the middle. And we are in the middle right now. We are in the middle of COVID-19. We are in the middle of changes in our environment. We are in the middle of changes in our world. And some of these changes that are happening right now are probably going to stay with us. And one of those changes is virtual technology. So when I first began, I was not willing to try videos. I was not willing to try doing classes and webinars on Zoom or any other platform. And I was certainly not willing to try doing videos of myself on a daily basis, even though I have a message to share. So the first thing that I had to do was I had to get over my limiting beliefs. I had to stop believing that somebody else was going to think something about me because I didn't look a certain way or act a certain way or seem like everybody else that's out there on social media. I also had to decide that my message was more important than what I perceive people see me like on camera. And no matter whether you're wanting to be better on camera because you're on a job interview, no matter whether you're wanting to be better on camera because you have to interact with people, no matter whether you want to be better on camera because you're connecting with friends and family, there are ways and techniques. So that's what we're going to dwell on today. And the best way to get started is just to launch. And so I'm going to do some funny things. I'll show you my background, show you how I've got this set up, and a few things just to make sure that you remember. And I'm going to do something right now because my nose is driving me crazy that you should never do on camera. I should turn away, but that's one thing don't do on camera. Okay, so I want you to start out with setting the stage. So how you prepare ahead of time and what you do is essential. So I want to show you a couple of things before I set up and we begin. So a lot of people are about this far back from their camera. Do you guys see what happens? What happens the further back I go? And this is about right for me typing, but it really makes me look a lot more distant, right? Even though I'm really not that far. Whereas if I come a lot closer, then it gives you a different feeling and body language image, right? So I am here, I'm close, and I feel like I'm connecting with you more than when I'm way back. So we're going to talk about angles of cameras and things like that. But the first thing I want you to do if you're getting ready to get on a call is set the stage. So I notice everyone I can see has done a really good job of setting the stage. You need to make sure that you are groomed. So many times in this crazy time, we don't have access to haircuts. We don't have access. I desperately need new glasses. And so you will see me doing this a little bit because I think I'm up to the trifocal stage and these are still bifocals and I needed them before this, but now I can't get them. So I have to work with what I have. And that's what we all have to do. We have to work with what I have. We have to work with what we have. We have to be creative. We have to step forward and say, okay, so I don't have that, but what do I have? We have to do that with our skills. We have to do that with our technology. And we have to do that with everything that we're encountering. So what is your focus? What do you want to get out of your phone call? What do you want to get out of the meeting that you're doing? That's your first step. Why am I getting on with you? Well, I'm getting on with you because I really think I have something to share. Am I practicing? Absolutely. But more important than that, I believe that I have something that can help improve your life. So for me, that's why I'm on today. Are you wanting to connect with someone because you think that you could have a mutually beneficial relationship that could partner with one another after this is over, after we're finished with our stay-at-home period? Are you wanting to connect because you need a job? What is your reason to connect? So you need to begin to think, why am I getting on this call? Have a purpose and a mission of everything you do. Be an inspector. Look around. So here's where we're going to play a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to tilt my camera, and I have set myself at an angle. So if I am here and you are seeing my background, and I'm going to shift my camera a little bit, can you guys see all the stuff in my background? You see my books and my bills and my, okay. So now look at this angle. Very different perspective. So inspect your background. Look around. Look at yourself in the mirror. I'm going to send out a lot of these tips online, but I want you to know that even these little things, even though they're subconscious, people react to them. It's not that they intend to. It's not that they're judging you. That's not it. But we have trained our brains to focus on certain things. We have something called the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system is that part of our brain that categorizes things for us. It helps us to be able to focus on certain qualities and certain things. And some of those things that we focus on is someone well-groomed, especially if you're in a job interview? How do they present? What is their body language? So those are things that we have to be aware of and cognizant of on camera as well. So one of the things that we need to do, especially if you're on an interview, is make sure that you are dressed to the shoes. I know one thing I've heard a lot of people talk about right now is to be dressed on top and have pajama bottoms on and barefoot. No. Don't do that, because if you do, what if you have to get up and go get a paper? Well, then you've blown your image. Wearing shoes is a psychological thing. Wearing shoes helps you feel more professional. It reminds you that you are at work. And so if you are on a job interview or a job Zoom call, please, please wear your shoes. And I'm not talking about your house shoes, okay? I want you to remember that you need to prepare your space, just like I just showed you just now. If I give you this impression, and there's my bills and there's my mess, that really does not present a professional image, right? And that is partially there because I haven't finished today, and that's partially there as a prop because I want you to see the image and the difference that makes. You need to do things like your mama told you. So you need to go to the restroom. You need to check your nose. You need to make sure that you have a glass of water close by, a cough drop close by. You need to have all those things prepared. You need to check your camera before you go on to the call. You can actually start a Zoom meeting with yourself, and you can see yourself on camera before you get on with anybody else. I use a lot of tips and tricks that I'm learning. I am in the process of learning, just as we all are. Check your background is really important. And if you have something that's inappropriate in your background, either cover it up or get a virtual screen. And I know that a lot of you guys are so much more technologically savvy than me, that I know that you can figure out how to do a screen in the background, or you can purchase a green screen, and they still have them at certain stores that are essential, such as Target and Walmart, those kinds of places. And you can set it up behind you, and you can use Zoom to broadcast a green screen. If your Zoom or your different technology is high enough, then you can actually just do a virtual screen. You don't have to have the green screen behind you. So we're going to talk about lighting. If you look gray, people are not consciously, but they are going to think, yeah, that's a good screen, but you have to be careful with that, because if you lean too far back, you disappear into your screen. So that can be pretty scary. I see that you're doing that. Yes, that's pretty cool, Ed. So people, if you look gray right now, it's a subconscious thing. They're wondering, ooh, is that person sick and maybe doesn't know it? So lighting is essential at this point in time. So have the windows open where if you're sitting to the side, not behind you because it'll wash you out, but have them open. I'm going to show you my windows. I have a bank of windows, and I have all the shades pulled up so that it's bringing in some natural light. I also have a light overhead that is bringing in light. You can use a lamp. We're going to talk about more about what you can do in just a moment. Make sure before you get on that your make sure that before you get on that your temperature is set well. If you are cold and you keep it a little cooler in your house because you're trying to save money, then you're going to hunch your shoulders and you're going to be pulling up the parts of your body, and that is not an open body position. That puts you in a closed body position. And if you're in a closed body position, that's going to send somebody the message that maybe you're shutting down to what they're saying instead of because you're cold and it's cold in your environment. So make sure that you watch those little things. Ambient noise. Somebody a while ago had something going on in the background. So when you're going into a meeting, make sure you mute yourself except for saying hello, because you don't want all those things going on around you. Try to have a dedicated space from where you do your Zoom casting or any other type. Zoom is my favorite platform right now just because I'm using it the most, but there's a lot of great platforms out there. I use FaceTime, I've used GoToMeeting, I've used many, many different. So whatever that is, make sure that you are looking at all the pieces of that. Make sure that your dogs are somewhat quiet. Make sure that your kids are somewhat quiet. Make sure that you have a space to work in, or else remain muted if you're not talking. And you're going to have to figure out how, even if it's a time, you're shutting yourself in the bathroom, make sure they see the background that's appropriate behind you. But you're going to have to find a space that's going to be a little quieter in these kinds of circumstances. Check your lighting. If you are extremely dark in a room, it also sends the same thing as if you look gray. So you need warm lighting, not cool lighting. Light bulbs. You can buy a light bulb, put it in a lamp, and stick it behind your computer, and you'll have the right kind of light. Put a shade on it if it's too bright. Check yourself. Practice this. Go forth and look at all of the different angles. Walk around your house carrying your computer and say, ooh, do I like the light here? Do I like the light here? Where is a good place for me to be able to do my webinars and be able to adjust the light? So I told you to practice. Water. Remember that done is better than perfect. Are we going to get better? Absolutely. We are going to get better, but you've got to jump in. If you're too afraid to get on camera like I was, then I missed a lot of opportunities because I was worried, oh, what is somebody going to think about me? You know, I look like I look, whatever. It's the same way I look in person. It's the angle of your camera that makes a lot of difference. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So angle of camera. So how close you are. Okay, we're doing the distance thing again. Gives you a very different impression. And that's okay for some kinds of meetings versus I really want to talk to you and communicate with you. So that's one of the tips. Make sure your shoulders are back. Make sure that you're not doing a bunch of this and playing with your face, because it sends a very nervous or very distracted point of view to the other person. Make sure that whatever they see is open. If you guys have taken my classes before, then you remember that you need to keep open body language and don't forget to breathe. Sometimes when we're nervous about being on camera, then we find ourselves breathing very shallowly, and the more you breathe shallow, the more it affects the way your body comes across. So make sure that you're breathing, make sure that you're not doing this too much. My nose is driving me crazy today because of all the nice spring that we're having outdoors, but be careful about how you do that. Put a dot on your computer. So I am also looking at my notes today, so please forgive me. But you should have a dot by your camera so that when you want to make a point, when you are talking to people, when you really want to connect with that person, that you look directly in the camera. So I use these kinds of dots because that's what I had at home. So I have a little dot by my computer that reminds me, oh yes, I'm supposed to look there. You can put a label, you can put whatever you want, but please put something on your camera so that when you are talking to someone, you are communicating with them. Another way that you can do Zoom, especially if you need to be using your computer, is to use a tripod. So I have my camera on this little nice tripod that I had, and I am using that to be able to do a double Zoom, except not at the moment because I wanted to be on this with you. Sometimes you can do a double Zoom. So that means that I can be on Zoom one way and I can shut off the camera, or I can just do Zoom on my phone and I can use my computer as a tool, because I need to be able to so many times pull up some notes or things like that. And it can look really weird about connecting if you are constantly looking down and constantly on your computer, or looking to the right or to the left. So consider using another device. It can be an iPad, it can be whatever you want. Make sure that you are high enough. One of the things that I do is I have really long legs and a short body. So I put a pillow in my chair. And in fact, I have to run out and get some groceries today, and I'm gonna see if they have a pillow in their garden section, because you can usually buy a pillow in the garden section pretty darn cheap, or use a bed pillow. Make sure that you're raised high enough that when you're sitting, that you have the right angle. Put your computer on something, or else use your phone or another device. If your camera's too low, you're going to demonstrate. It gives you a very different perspective. And depending on, I'm on a pillow, remember, so I'm already raised up. If I was actually as low as I really am, then that would be a whole different perspective versus if I put my computer on a device. You can use anything. You can use a file box. You can use, I happen to have a small plastic crate. I've used a box. It depends on where I want the angle and what else I'm needing to do. What your goal is so that you're eye level with the computer and looking down just a tiny bit, because that gives a much better impression. If some of these tips don't matter if you're talking to a friend or you're having a Zoom call with your family member, but if you're on an interview, all of these tips matter. If you are in an interview, the difference in how your body language looks and the difference in how you're coming across on this thing can be the difference between whether they hire you or somebody else, just by how you look on camera. So make sure that you pay attention to these details. I saw one girl this morning. I'm doing a webinar internationally tomorrow. And so I'm watching a lot of webinars and I'm doing a lot of things. And this girl was nervous, and so she was subconsciously rocking. So if I'm subconsciously rocking, what impression does that give you guys? Well, it's a very, somebody want to type into the chat, what impression? What if I'm subconsciously rocking? Nobody? Okay. Well, it gives an impression that I'm very nervous and very uncomfortable in my skin. It gives the impression that I don't feel confident about what I'm saying or what I'm doing. So all those little gestures that you normally don't want to do when you've taken my body language classes before, those are the things that you really don't want to do on camera because they're magnified. That if you do it, it is what it is. There's a lot of grace right now for people. A lot of people are very scared of this time, and rightly, you know, I understand the fear, but at the same time, I see so many blessings and I see so many wonderful things that are happening. I see so many opportunities for us to be able to step forth and be creative. I see so many wonderful opportunities for us to be kind to one another. I see so many wonderful opportunities for us to think outside the box, for us to reconnect with family, for us to rethink the journey of our life. And it is in these kinds of times when we have that extra time that we can talk about all those things that we want to do. I'm doing a series right now called Baby Stepping Your Way to a Better Life, even in the middle of a crisis. And you can find that on my YouTube channel, Deborah Love Bradshaw. You can find that on my Facebook. You can find that on my LinkedIn. I'm putting it out all three places, and I'll probably use a few more platforms, but they're just 3-minute daily tips, around 3 minutes, that will give you one step of how to create a routine, or what to do about your limiting beliefs, or what to do to reconnect with someone. And those little tips will help you to get through this process in a better way. The other thing I'm doing on my Facebook page, and they're public right now, so you can see them even if we're not friends. And I'm also doing some things on my private Facebook page. It's called Life in the Middle. And Life in the Middle is a series that tells people about what we're doing in the middle of everything, and hopefully gives you some encouragement for the day. So those kinds of things are the important things. So that brings me to my next point. So what do you do when you get online? Even if you don't know someone well, it's really okay at this point in time in our system to introduce yourself. And if you see something in the background, connect. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them how they're focusing with all the crisis. Ask them what is going on in their world. Care about people. You know, you will connect so much more effectively. You will connect so much more truthfully and authentically if you really care about what's going on, instead of it just being about what you're doing. If you take that time to connect with the person on the other side of that camera, you've already gone a really long way towards establishing that relationship. And that's really what the Zoom calls are about. We are establishing relationships, we are working together, and we are finding our path to this new future. A lot of businesses are talking about, we are not going to be able to go back to some of these buildings that we've had before. They are predicting that a lot of people are going to stay remote who have been working in businesses before. If they're an effective remote employee, then they're going to be offered a remote job because it's so much more expensive to put people in a building. I know that my son works for a large technology company, and they are really looking at the employees who are doing remote work well. So this process of learning how to do online is very important and very effective for your job future as well as today. So I want to talk to you about be animated, don't be fake. You want to be passionate, you want to be real, you want to be authentic, but if you're going to fake it, if that's not your personality, don't do it on camera, because it will come across as plastic. If you're not a person who smiles a lot, put a Post-it note somewhere. I think I showed you those little Post-it notes. I put a little note that says what I need to remember for that call. You can stick it on your computer if you're not sharing your screen. Even if you are, they're not going to see it. And remind yourself to smile, remind yourself to react, remind yourself to stay focused. Whatever that tip is that you need to be able to do all of this, remind yourself that these are the things, that's your plan. Or, you know, that you're just there to maybe give support. You would be surprised the support you can give someone else, even if you're originally stepping into the call for an interview. So we're going to talk a little bit about auxiliary equipment. And you guys are the techies, a lot of engineers on here, a lot of different people. But I want to give you some ideas that you may not have thought of. I want to give you some ideas on how you can lift up the camera. I mentioned I'm using a plastic box today. I've used a file box. I've used a cardboard box. You can buy, if you have, or use a laptop stand if you're using a laptop, or you can use a external camera. Sorry, I couldn't think of the term. If you don't have a camera on your computer, but make sure that you're thinking outside the box. How can I fix this? You may not have the equipment you need. What else can you rig? This is a time for creativity. This is a time to think outside the box in not just Zoom calls and in not just technology, but in life. This is a time to step forward and say, oh, I have those skills. You know, I was thinking this morning about all the skills that even though I don't have much, I would pay somebody for right now. You know, there are several classes that I would love to take online. Some classes on the new platforms. There are platforms changing each and every single night. Every morning, you need to make sure you have that right, whatever your meeting software is, because every 3 days this week, it's been a new meeting software on several of those I was using. So I would pay someone to $5. If you're doing a class of 20 people, that's quite a bit. So think about those things that you can do using your creativity. I would pay someone to be able to teach me how to use my computer more effectively, to be able to teach me some of the software that's coming out, because that's not how my brain works. And MailChimp changed its platform this week. I am currently trying to figure out how to do an opt-in and a CRM so I can send everybody the notes on MailChimp. And I'm going, whoa, this platform looks nothing like it did 3 weeks ago. So that's an opportunity. Use your creativity. Use your creativity with technology. Use your creativity with these types of calls. Use your creativity in life. What do you have to offer? Every single person on this call has something that they have to offer. Every single person on this call has a skill that's valuable. And just because you think it looks like somebody else's does not mean it does, because the way you deliver it is different than anybody else's. So what can you do if you don't have a tripod like I did? Well, you can put one of those nice little buttons on the back of your phone. I forgot those pop-up buttons. And you can put a box, and you can put a mug, my mug for demonstration purposes, and you hang your phone on your mug and put it on a box, and there's your tripod. You don't have a tripod, you invent one. I don't care whether you use a tire. I saw one video, and I'll try to send you guys that link, where the guy used a tire as a demonstration of what he put his laptop on. It doesn't matter. Be creative. A lamp. You don't have a lamp? You can get one at Walmart or Target or one of the other essential stores. Buy a tall lamp with a light color shade on it. Use that for your special lighting. What would be nice? What should you invest in the future? You should probably invest in an auxiliary mic. I am not using one today, but I need one. You should probably invest in a circle light or some other type of light that's going to give you the right kind of warmth. You should probably invest in a better camera if you have an older computer. And you should probably invest in some kind of stand eventually that you are going to hold your laptop up with. I also have an auxiliary keyboard that I have plugged into my laptop. I just happen to have it around the house, and that way I can type and still have my camera or my laptop at the right angle because I'm working on a laptop. Send an invite to somebody this week. Practice doing a Zoom call with somebody you want to connect with. Mike was talking about connecting with people, so do it via Zoom. It's much more personal. Everybody understands right now there has been no better time than right this moment for people to connect and to practice. Everybody is giving everyone else grace. So connect with someone via Zoom. Make sure you have the right mindset. Examine your mindset. What am I telling myself? Just like I was telling myself, well, you don't look good on camera. Well, my camera was at the wrong angle. What limiting beliefs are you telling yourself and why you can't do this? Start looking at those and decide that you are going to make it happen. Decide that you are not going to be stuck in this situation. When you talk to somebody, connect, commiserate, console, and congratulate. If they just had something wonderful that happened, congratulate them. If they had something horrible that happened, console them or commiserate with them, whatever is appropriate in that situation. Make sure that you're connecting on a personal level, even more important than ever before. People need that connection. They're craving that connection. They want that connection. Have a conversation. You want to have a business meeting, but make it a conversation. Make it mutually beneficial. Enough of it's about me. Let's make this work together. We are better together is one of the slogans right now, and we are stronger together. So this is a perfect time to really make sure that whatever you're doing is mutually beneficial. Make sure you're listening. If somebody says something, make sure you clarify. If you don't know what they're asking, ask, could you please tell me what you're asking me? Say, why do you ask? Use a clarifying question to be able to make sure, don't just answer, but keep going. Yes, I've been talking for a while, but I am the speaker for the moment. But make sure that you don't hog the computer. Make sure that you give the other person time to speak to. Make sure you listen to their response and don't just react to their response. Hear what they're saying and hear where their heart is coming from. Care. I'm going to be doing a presentation on cultural communication tomorrow, and I'm going to be doing a presentation on how to connect with people globally, because that is more of what our world is coming to. So I think I sent the link, and you can also find that on my Facebook page and several other places. Check back later, Deborah Love Bradshaw, and come online with us. It was great. Digital Nomad was on there Monday. I'm so honored to have the opportunity to do this. This is such a great opportunity to step forward. We need to learn that we are in people's homes. We are seeing them in a whole different light than what we may have seen them before, and respect that person's time and respect their belief system and respect where they're coming from. Their home may not look like your home. Their office may not look like your office, but make sure that you give grace. Make sure that you don't judge someone based on what you believe their background to be. Closing tips. Don't forget to say thank you at the end of the call. Send a thank you note or a thank you email. Handwritten note goes a really long ways. Don't expect everyone to do it like you would. We're just not going to. Takes baby steps to get where you want to go. And let's see, I have lost my last page, but here it is. We're all in this together. We are all learning as we're going. We are all going to make it. And you got this. You have the creativity. If you think you don't have grit, think about how you learned to walk. Think about your last obstacle or your last job loss that you overcame. Think what happened when you had to find the resources when that loved one got sick, or figure out how to do something because you didn't have the technology. You've got the grit. You've got what it takes. You just have to be willing to be yourself, be willing to step out and create, be productive, and decide that you're going to use this time instead of say, well, this is a nice period of rest, and when you come out the other side, you're no better off than where you started. Let's use this time to be better people, to be better workers, to be better family members and life partners than before we began. And I just want to encourage you to jump in where you are. It's not always easy, but you can figure this out. I heard a word this week. There's something called Rise Up Challenge, and you can find it on Facebook, and it's phenomenal. Every day they have inspirational and motivational speakers, and you can go and sign up for free. There's no cost. There's 1 million classes right now. And on one of those webinars, I heard the word, it's all figure-outable. You know, we can figure all of this out if we just try. And guys, you already have it. You just have to decide that you will. Again, you'll find a lot of my content on Deborah Love Bradshaw. I so appreciate your time today. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and go out and make it a great day.
Thank you, Deborah. Appreciate that. Let's first, I want to open up for any kind of questions or
Yes.
other tips. Anyone got some questions for Deborah? You can either type them in the chat box or just speak up.
No?
Okay.